apparently you met another rock star, David Bowie, who you worked with again later on in life. I actually saw the Glass Spider tour at Giant Stadium in the 80s. But you met him when you were a little kid because he was, I believe, a student at your father's in your father's art class, right?
That's correct. Yeah, it was Bromley Technical High School, and this one weekend there was a fair charity raising money for school stuff, school equipment and everything. And but there was a band playing on the steps of the school, the entrance there, and I knew the band was the Conrads because I'd heard it, I'd heard how good they were, but I'd never seen them. But I couldn't take my eyes off this guy playing sax and singing, rock songs of the moment. Elvis, Eddie Cochran, you name it, he was singing it. And I just looked up at my dad and I said, "Dad, who's that?" And he said, "Oh, that's Jones. He's very creative." So anyway, I then found out that he and George Underwood, who was the one that did the Ziggy Stardust cover, were also in my dad's art form for 3 years. And so the first time I actually went to the school, when I was a year older, first lunchtime, I made a beeline for Dave and George. We were like the Three Musketeers. And my dad said, "Well, you're all into music. Why don't you bring your guitars to school and stuff them in my office, and then at lunchtime you can get them out and have a play on the steps there in the school." It was a dream guitar. It was one of those ones where it falls into your hands and it's like putting, custom-made gloves on. It was just phenomenal. So from 1970 to 1980, I played every session of my own, other people. I did a lot of different sessions for other people. And every show, every record. And then in 1980, we had a very unfortunate, sad cargo plane crash, which all our gear was on. So the very famous, on the front cover of Comes Alive guitar was, as far as we knew, was gone back to the earth. So anyway, 30 years go by and I get an email from someone from Holland, and it's about a dozen forensically taken shots of my guitar like the day before. He sent the email. I said, "Oh my God, that is my guitar." I didn't tell him, but I screamed so loud, and I said, it survived. It survived.
Really is the Phoenix. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, it rose from the ashes. It was stolen from the debris, and someone sold it, and someone bought it. And for 30 years, it disappeared. And then the son of the person who bought it needed to buy a new guitar. And he brought the Phoenix, what we now call the Phoenix, I call the Phoenix, brought it to a luthier who knew exactly what it was straight away. And there's a gray area from then. For 2 years, I had to wait until the kid was willing to sell it. So for $5,000, I got it back. I have a research fund, Peter Frampton's research fund at Johns Hopkins for the disease that I have called IBM, which is inclusion body myositis, which is the muscles in the legs, feet, arms, and hands are sort of dissipating and turning into something else. But there's not very many of us that know that they have this. It's very hard to diagnose, and unfortunately, it was getting worse. And on stage, I fell a couple of times within 1 month, and then went to a neurologist, and they initially diagnosed me. Then I went to Johns Hopkins, which is the best place in the country, myositis clinic there.
Well, I've been doing my part. As I said, I'm Reverb's biggest customer, I think.
All right.
Let's pinky swear we'll make a private donation as well.
We will.
Oh, you're very kind. Thank you.